Take a good look at your husband and children, said the doctor. This may be the last time you remember their faces. Terrified at what she was about to be shown, my wife looked over at me and our 3 kids as the doctor pulled out her MRI scans. And there it was, as clear as day. On the left, a healthy brain. On the right, hers. A terrifying black hole of emptiness smack bang in the middle of her brain, growing rapidly and slowly devouring everything around it. I stared in horror at the scans in front of us. My wife Sandra started crying uncontrollably. It had only been 6 years since the symptoms began, but there it was, the cold, hard, brutal truth staring us in the face. The rapid deterioration in Sandra's brain health was shocking, and it hit me like a 10-ton truck. Isn't there anything you can do? I pleaded with the doctor, tears streaming down my face. It was just another day at the office for Dr. Walters, who stood there emotionless, itching to get out of the room and onto his next patient before lunch. We can put you on another course of medication, he said, looking at Sandra. But I'm not sure how effective it'll be, if at all. To be totally honest with you, I've never seen anything like this before. And then he hit us with it. The deterioration is so rapid, he said, I'd be lying if I promised you any kind of improvement. In fact, I'd be amazed if you still recognize your children in 3 months from now. 3 months? 12 lousy weeks? That was all he was giving my wife before her entire life was to disappear from her mind? And she'd become a confused and scared old woman staring at a wall in some nursing home, unable to even recognize her own husband and kids? 53 years of her life, soon to be forgotten. All the happy memories with our family about to be ripped from her mind as if they never existed, like tearing pages from a book. The night I proposed to her, our wedding day, the birth of our children, everything gone. Sandra looked at me with tears in her eyes as she lay in the cold steel hospital bed, contemplating the most depressing future she could imagine. I felt ashamed that I hadn't done something earlier when I knew that her mind was failing her. Embarrassed because I believed the doctors, when they told us that the medication she was on would work. All I wanted to do was wake up from this nightmare, but I couldn't. The thought of Sandra turning into a vegetable in front of me tore me apart. She was my rock. But in a few months, she would be reduced to the same treatment as our newborn grandson, unable to put 2 words together and requiring constant care. So why am I sharing this story with you? Well, because coming face to face with the most terrifying moment of our lives was the beginning of a life-changing quest to discover the real cause of Alzheimer's, dementia, and other brain diseases. A journey that would expose the dark and twisted practices of corporate America, and why dementia drugs developed by the major pharmaceutical companies do nothing to treat conditions like Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, but shockingly make the condition worse. But more incredibly, it would lead me to uncover a shocking medical secret. A simple way to destroy the telltale plaques and tangles that ravage brain cells and lead to Alzheimer's, dementia, and other memory-killing diseases. And most shockingly of all, reverse all of my wife's symptoms in just 21 days. And best of all, we were able to do it 100% naturally, using simple and inexpensive ingredients picked up at your local grocery store. The dementia-destroying memory-boosting solution I'm about to reveal lies in a little-known molecule produced by your own body, which every Alzheimer's and dementia patient is in short supply of. This stunning medical breakthrough is supported by countless peer-reviewed medical studies around the world, and is scientifically proven to repair damaged brain cells, fire up dying neurons, and restore your brain's communication network. And in doing so, dramatically increase brain health, restore lost memories, eliminate brain fog and confusion, and transform focus and concentration, regardless of whether you're 20 or 120 years old. This 100% safe and natural treatment has already been used by 47,187 people, and counting, with remarkable success stories being reported every day. Before I continue, I want you to know that it's absolutely vital you watch this presentation until the very end, while you still have the chance, because it could be taken down at any moment. And that's because the greedy pharmaceutical companies behind the world's leading Alzheimer's and dementia drugs are angry as hell about what I'm about to show you, and are desperate to shut me down. You need to understand that what you're fighting against is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they don't want you to know that there is now a quick, safe, and 100% natural way to reverse memory loss and cure every single form of dementia in a matter of weeks. And they're currently trying every trick in the book to silence me. So listen up and listen hard, because time is running out. If you've ever felt embarrassed or humiliated because you've forgotten someone's name, where you put things or conversations you've had, if you have a history of dementia in the family and are desperate to avoid the same fate, if you're experiencing personality changes or becoming angry and frustrated because you can no longer perform simple tasks that never used to be a problem, Or if you simply want a scientifically proven way to maintain or even boost your brain health, memory, focus, and concentration, so you can live life to the max for as long as possible, well then, I urge you to make yourself comfortable. Put any plans you have on hold for just a couple of minutes and listen to every single word of this controversial presentation. Because I promise you, you can fix this problem with nothing more than a simple plate of food. That's right. The simple, easy to prepare dish is the key to reverse Alzheimer's and dementia in as little as 21 days. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the simple ingredients that go into this dish. And I'm also going to reveal the bizarre story about how I came to stumble upon this remarkable medical secrets found inside this plate of food, which as I speak is changing the lives of tens of thousands of people all over the world, which has not only cured my own wife of Alzheimer's, but has transformed men and women of all ages from bumbling, forgetful, and confused care home patients who have essentially checked out into alert, focused, and fun-loving husbands, wives, and grandparents with minds as sharp as 20-year-olds. In fact, as soon as I discovered the secret, the deterioration in my wife's brain health, memory, focus, and concentration stopped within days, and dramatic improvements occurred within weeks. Within 21 days, it was like someone had flicked a switch on in her brain and every single neuron had been lit up like a Christmas tree. And she's not the only one who experienced such dramatic results. Let me tell you what Maureen Masterson from Park City, Utah had to say. My husband Jim was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2008. At first, he was just forgetting people's names, where he put things, and conversation he'd had. But as the months and years went on, his cognitive health deteriorated rapidly, and his personality changed a lot, which was incredibly distressing to witness. He would wander aimlessly around the house, talk to me like he was stuck in the 60s, and confuse the toilet with the front door, which meant he would urinate into the street. This caused a lot of problems with our neighbors, who demanded that we put him in a care home. Since I discovered your program, the change has been miraculous. I feel like I have my Jim back, and I can't thank you enough. And here's a message I received from Jason Barker in Miami, Florida. My mother has been in a local residential care home since being diagnosed with progressive dementia 9 years ago. She'd got to the point where she couldn't distinguish between her family and the care home staff, and would often shout and scream at my father for being an imposter, which was absolutely crushing for my dad. After a friend recommended your program, my mom's behavior has changed significantly, and she now recognizes my dad again. We can now talk to one another, just like we did before she was admitted. The staff at the home have been shocked by the improvement and are now using the treatment on all of the other residents who are now experiencing the same results. In just a few minutes from now, you're going to discover the scientific research that proves beyond all doubt that any deterioration in your brain health can not only be stopped, but actually reversed, simply by kickstarting your body's ability to produce a completely natural molecule. Let me introduce myself properly. My name is Martin Riley. I'm 59 years old, and I'm a science teacher. I live in Stamford, Connecticut, with my wife, Sandra, an English teacher, and our 3 beautiful children, Zach, Joseph, and Kelly. That's me and my wife, Sandra, on the right there. And today, I'd like to share a very personal story with you. Believe me, it's not something that I ever wanted to do, because as you'll soon find out, it's a little embarrassing for Sandra. But you need to hear it so the same fate doesn't befall you, and it will if you choose to do nothing. Up until 6 years ago, I knew nothing about dementia, or any other neurological disease for that matter. My wife Sandra and I had been happily married for more than 25 years. My kids were starting families of their own, and I had a great job working as a science teacher at a local school where Sandra taught English. But slowly and surely, Sandra's mind and our lives was beginning to unravel. The changes were barely even noticeable at first. She'd forget a friend's name and then just laugh it off and put it down to a senior moment, as my kids would say. But as the months went on, her memory began to deteriorate at a frightening pace. At school, she'd find herself standing up in front of the class and suddenly forgetting what she was supposed to be teaching. Most of the time, she'd manage to ask the right questions, so one of the kids would jog her memory with their reply, and she'd be able to figure out what she was doing there. She had to write everything down all the time because her mind was like a sieve. Nothing seemed to stay in her head anymore. But then things began to get a whole lot worse. Sandra suddenly found herself unable to record a TV show or work the microwave, even though she'd been doing it for years, and it frustrated the hell out of her and made her angry, like she was some kind of doddering old fool. Even more worryingly, she started to forget things like our kids' birthdays and even began to confuse their names. Eventually, I decided that enough was enough, and on one Saturday morning in December, I asked her to draw a clock on a piece of paper. She sat there and did it, annoyed that I was wasting her time. It was easy, or so she thought. in her muddled, confused state of mind. As I picked up the piece of paper, my heart sank. Instead of a normal clock face with the numbers around the side and the hands in the middle, she'd drawn a circle with a bunch of numbers bunched together in the middle of the clock with no hands at all. It didn't look anything like a clock face. It was like a 3-year-old had drawn it, and it was sure sign that she was in deep trouble. She didn't know it at the time, but drawing a clock is a proven way to screen for Alzheimer's and dementia, and she'd failed miserably. The next day I dragged Sandra to the doctor for some tests, where they hit us up with the devastating news that would turn my entire world upside down. She had early onset dementia. Over the next few years, her doctor prescribed a range of drugs to manage the condition, but despite all the promises, nothing worked. In fact, not only did they do absolutely nothing to help her, but most of them led to horrible side effects like nausea, diarrhea, and slow heart rhythms, which resulted in Sandra fainting regularly. With drugs failing to halt the decline, her memory, ability to communicate, and perform basic tasks went downhill fast, and she became more and more confused. She would get frustrated because she could no longer understand the world around her. She'd constantly forget where she'd put things, like her keys, phone, or glasses, and then she'd accuse me of deliberately hiding them from her. And I'd shout and scream at her. Her colleagues and students began to notice too, and eventually it all became too much. Teaching an English class one morning, Sandra looked up at all the kids sitting there, waiting for her to speak, when she suddenly couldn't remember why she was there or what she was supposed to be doing. She just sat there in silence, confused and scared, until she broke down and started crying in front of 40 kids. The children just stared at her in shock, unsure about what to do, until one of the staff came in and hauled her out. After decades of service, the school was kind enough to offer her voluntary redundancy, and she was sent home into my care. Just like most families suffering from dementia, Sandra and I believed the doctors and tried a variety of drugs in the hope that it would slow down the decline, but all it did was eat into our savings. And I struggled along, forced to deal with her erratic behavior and personality changes as the woman I loved slowly disappeared before my eyes. But just when all hope seemed lost, something happened that would change everything. Not that we knew it at the time. In fact, Sandra's road to recovery started with a night in jail. You see, she was in that hospital bed being shown those MRI scans because just 2 days earlier, she'd been mistaken for a burglar. I didn't know it, but Sandra had snuck out of the house one evening. Returning home, she found that her key didn't work in the front door. But the problem was, she'd become so confused she was trying to get through the back window of our old family home, which we hadn't lived in for 13 years. The police were called out, and she was thrown in jail until I came to pick her up after explaining what had happened. And that's how she ended up in that hospital bed, staring at those MRI scans on the wall, surrounded by her shell-shocked family. That evening, I decided that I wasn't going to let my wife or our children suffer like this any longer. It broke my heart to think that in as little as a few months, she would be alive but barely living, and Sandra was determined that she wasn't going to become a burden to me or the kids. She was fiercely independent, and she didn't want to spend the next 20 or 30 years of her life being spoon-fed or having me dress her or take her to the toilet. The thought of it terrified her. So, while she was still able to make decisions for herself, she started to research local care homes, eventually settling on one just 20 minutes away, so visiting would be easy. And this is where salvation would appear in the strangest of ways. On the way out, after our visit, my wife spotted one of our friends, Laura, who was visiting her father. Laura knew about our situation and agreed to show Sandra around the home. And as they walked off, I smelled something absolutely amazing coming from the upstairs. It was lunchtime. I was hungry and my mouth started watering immediately. It was one of those smells of food that make you just want to follow it, like in the movies. And I thank God to this day that I did, because as I walked up the stairs and down the corridor, it turned out that the delicious smell was coming from the kitchen of a tiny old lady from northern India. And it was this chance meeting that would literally change everything. During the 20-minute conversation, I discovered that her name was Manisha, and she was 107 years old. She must have been one of the oldest people in the care home. Yet, she was as sharp and alert as a teenager, and had a wicked sense of humor. As we chatted and I explained my reasons for being there, she told me that Sandra should be eating what she ate every day, and she didn't dare touch what the care home fed her. Why, I asked her. Because it keeps your mind young and your body healthy. I come from a place where dementia and Alzheimer's don't even exist, and it's because the food we eat. Where do you come from? I said excitedly. A small town in northern India called Balabgar, replied Manisha. Have a look. I think you'll understand why I don't have dementia. At that moment, Sandra started calling my name from downstairs, and I said goodbye to Manisha and headed home. But as we drove back to the house, I couldn't get my conversation with this little old lady out of my head. That evening, I typed in Balabgar and dementia into Google, and up popped an article from the BBC titled, "Indian Village May Hold Key to Beating Dementia." Manisha was right. She did have the secret. According to the article, researchers from the University of Pittsburgh spent several years studying over 55s in the area and concluded that recorded rates of the condition in this small community were lower than anywhere else in the world. Excited at the prospect of actually finding a solution to the living nightmare we'd found ourselves in, I started looking into the diet of Manisha and those living in Balabgar and their secret to an Alzheimer's-free life. I first researched the main ingredients in their diet, coconut oil, and the benefits of coconut oil on cognitive health. I couldn't believe what I found. Straight away, I came across the story of Dr. Mary Newport and her husband Steve, who had been diagnosed with severe Alzheimer's. Now, according to Dr. Newport, a physician who runs a neonatology ward at a hospital in Tampa, Florida, just days after she began adding coconut oil to her husband's diet, she saw a stunning improvement, and some of his symptoms were even reversed. The coconut oil he'd taken seemed to lift the fog, said Dr. Newport. So why does this happen? New research from Brown University in Louisiana State has shown that Alzheimer's occurs when brain cells have difficulty metabolizing glucose, which is the brain's principal source of energy. Your brain actually manufactures its own insulin to convert glucose into the fuel it needs, and these discoveries proved that your brain can essentially become diabetic. As you may know, diabetes is the condition where your body's response to insulin is weakened due to insulin resistance, where your body eventually stops producing the insulin necessary to regulate blood sugar. And just like with diabetes, your brain can become insulin resistant too. If this happens, your brain loses its ability to convert glucose into energy, leading to a starvation state, which results in brain atrophy. And we now know that this is what happens to Alzheimer's patients. Portions of their brain start to atrophy or starve, leading to impaired functioning and eventual loss of memory, speech, movement, and personality. This is why diabetics have a 65% increased risk of also being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, because both conditions are tied to insulin resistance. Now, the purpose of the study, published in the journal Neurobiology of Aging, was to reverse this process. During the study, it was discovered that a diet rich in coconut oil was able to promote the production of a brain-boosting molecule called ketones, which is exactly what brain cells need to dissolve excess glucose and convert it into energy. In fact, in a study published in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia in 2014, a 63-year-old man with advanced Alzheimer's disease began consuming coconut oil. After just 2 months, his score on the mini mental state exam, a test of global cognitive function, shot up from an extremely low 12 out of 30 to an impressive 20 out of 30. This was incredible news. I mean, it seemed that something as simple as coconut oil could actually begin the process of repairing brain atrophy, reversing memory loss, and curing devastating brain diseases like Alzheimer's. But don't rush out and buy a case full of coconut oil just yet, because that's not even half the story, and not enough on its own to restore memories and reverse Alzheimer's and dementia. You see, I was so excited by these findings that I became literally obsessed about finding a cure for Sandra. I visited universities, specialists, Alzheimer's research facilities, spoke to neurologists, and devoured medical journals in the hope of finding something more. There must have been more secrets in this little Indian village's diet that, unbeknownst to them, held the key to their Alzheimer's-free population. Within weeks, I unearthed even more natural foods, herbs, spices, plants, and oils that were scientifically proven to activate ketones and in turn improve memory, slow down, prevent, and in some cases, actually reverse Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. A study carried out at the Department of Neurology at Kariya Toyota General Hospital in Japan looked at 3 patients with Alzheimer's disease and found that their behavioral symptoms were improved remarkably as a result of taking one traditional Indian spice. Now, according to the study, before the trial took place, the patient's cognitive decline and behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia were very severe. All 3 patients exhibited irritability, agitation, anxiety, and apathy, and 2 patients suffered from urinary incontinence. But after being prescribed capsules of this simple spice for just 12 weeks, all 3 patients started recovering from these symptoms without any adverse reaction. Their memories were transformed. They could suddenly remember how to perform simple tasks, like cooking, dressing themselves, and using the toilet, which they'd required round-the-clock care for. Their families were stunned by the results. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Here were several completely natural ingredients that had scientifically proven to improve cognitive health Yet all of them were being ignored or deliberately suppressed by Big Pharma in order to protect their multi-billion-dollar dementia drugs. Determined to try this on Sandra, I took my research back to Brown University and pleaded with them to put me in touch with one of the researchers on the ketone study. After all, I wasn't a doctor. In fact, I had no medical training at all, and I needed help. And I got it in the shape of Dr. Miles Fielding, a specialist in neurochemistry and brain function. His own mother had been diagnosed with the disease 3 years previously, and he'd been desperate to take the research on and develop some kind of treatment, but the university wouldn't fund it. The timing couldn't have been better. Dr. Fielding needed funding, and I needed an expert to help me turn all of my research into a real natural treatment that could actually work. After meeting for a coffee, I explained to Dr. Fielding all about Sandra's condition and exactly what I'd found, and asked him if he would help me develop a treatment. I'd love to, he said, but I'm committed to other research projects at the university, and they won't fund further studies into Alzheimer's. Why, I asked. Because the pharmaceutical corporations have been providing all of our funding, and after the ketone study showed so much promise, they threatened to withdraw all funding if we continued, Dr. Fielding replied. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These companies literally didn't care about people's health at all. Alzheimer's and dementia patients were just dollar signs to them, and they were determined to keep milking them until the day they died. The same way they had been emptying our pockets for years with little to show for it. But I wasn't going to let them stop me. I explained that I had money, not much, but savings, investments, and equity in our home. I was willing to put it all on the line, one last shot at saving my wife from the black hole of Alzheimer's. Dr. Fielding thankfully agreed, and on that date, we set off on a journey that put an end to Alzheimer's and dementia once and for all. Our hypothesis was that by using the right ingredients, including many ingredients consumed by Manisha and all those in Balabgar, and combining them in the perfect amounts, we'd be able to kickstart the body's production of ketones, which in turn would repair the damage caused by Alzheimer's telltale plaques and tangles and reverse brain atrophy. It took more than 13 months of painstaking research and thousands upon thousands of trials and tests on mice, but eventually, we were confident that we landed on a foolproof and scientifically backed protocol for destroying Alzheimer's, dementia, and other memory-killing diseases. We had managed to produce a series of meals which contained the exact, very specific amount of ingredients of herbs, spices, vegetables, and odd foodstuff that alone would have little effect, but when combined, would be the answer to our prayers. By having Dr. Fielding and his knowledge behind the research, the final meals we had created were up to 4 times more powerful than those consumed by Manisha and her village. It was amazing. And the best part was because it was a completely natural formulation instead of a drug, we didn't have to submit our treatment to the FDA, but we'd have to wait years for approval. Instead, we just needed one willing patient to put the protocol to test. And of course, that patient was my wife. I spent a few hours buying everything I needed from my local grocery store and prepared the meals that evening. After 5 days, there was no noticeable improvement in her condition. But Dr. Fielding had told us to persevere, that the ingredients wouldn't produce results overnight. But then, on day 21, something incredible happened. I didn't expect such a dramatic change, but I asked Sandra to draw a clock face again to see if there had been any improvement. She drew the clock, passed it across the table, and smiled. I took one look and almost fell off my chair. Sandra's face lit up with the biggest smile I've ever seen, and I gave her an enormous hug. She'd put all the numbers in the correct place and had included hands so that the time was 6:05 p.m., the exact time it was when she drew the picture. From this point on, the improvement was remarkable. She'd stopped misplacing things around the house. She had no problem using the TV or the microwave. She didn't confuse any of our children's names, and she knew exactly when their birthdays were. It was like a fog was being lifted, and slowly but surely, my wife was coming back to life. Dr. Fielding and I were amazed and overjoyed at the results. But like any good science teacher, I wanted to disprove the results. I had to know if this was just some kind of fluke, or whether this really was the secret to reversing Alzheimer's. So, over the next 7 months, we posted ads online asking for volunteers who would be willing to put our protocol to the test. In total, 97 people experiencing varying degrees of Alzheimer's and dementia symptoms agreed to take part in the trials. Dr. Fielding also created a control group of 38 volunteers with no memory problems at all. The results were spectacular. Without exception, and within a matter of weeks, all 97 volunteers experienced dramatic improvements in memory, focus, concentration, and behavior. I began to receive phone calls, emails, letters from volunteers and their families who had been left stunned by the transformation and were desperate to thank me. And when my control group reported huge improvements in their memories too, I knew I couldn't keep it to myself any longer. This was it. We'd done it. We'd actually discovered a way to prevent, stop, and even reverse Alzheimer's and every other form of dementia using nothing but simple, inexpensive, and delicious natural ingredients picked up from any local grocery store. Seeing my wife literally fade away before my eyes had a devastating impact on our family, and I don't want any other family to suffer like we did. Today, my mission is to help as many people as possible to overcome this devastating disease and do it quickly and naturally, without the need for any expensive medication. This system works, and I'm incredibly proud to say that the shocking statistics about Alzheimer's and dementia are about to change, and in a big way. Alzheimer's, for example, is projected to increase from 21 million to a whopping 53 million by 2050. And there's a high chance you could become part of that statistic if you don't do anything to stop it. In fact, according to the Alzheimer's Association, a frightening 1 in 9 over the age of 65 in America alone already have or will develop Alzheimer's. But the most frightening statistic of all is that the medical community continues to tell you that Alzheimer's cannot be stopped, prevented, or cured. Well, I'm here to tell you today that that is not true and never was. I've dedicated the last few years of my life to uncovering the truth about Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And with Dr. Fielding's help, I've created a clinically proven and all-natural system for beating memory-killing brain diseases once and for all, with no drugs and in as little as 21 days. And I've called it the Memory Repair Protocol. Now, this system has already changed the lives of 47,187 people, helping them to dramatically improve their memory, focus, and concentration in a matter of days, and transform their own lives, confidence levels, and happiness. But before I reveal exactly what you're going to get in the Memory Repair Protocol, here's what Sarah Jane Dalton from Dallas, Texas had to say about it. Thank you so much for your program. Why, just 9 weeks ago, my own father didn't even recognize me, and it was incredibly painful to watch him become so angry and frustrated, unable to make sense of the world anymore. Since I discovered these recipes, the change in my dad has been remarkable. It's as if a switch had been flicked back on, and he's almost like his old self again. And then there's Patricia Mountjoy from Portland, Oregon, who wrote in to say this. Hi, Martin. I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for releasing this program. My husband, Gareth, has been on 7 different medications, and none of them have done anything except cause nasty side effects. Doctors don't even want to entertain the idea that diet can be the cause of and solutions to so many health problems. It's criminal that they force drugs on dementia patients continually, when so much evidence says that they don't work. In just 5 weeks on your program, I've already seen a massive difference in my husband's memory, focus, test scores, and general behavior. And Tyler Whitmore from Baltimore, Michigan, sent me this message. When a friend of mine first told me about this, I was very skeptical. But after seeing what Alzheimer's has done to my mother and our family as a whole, I thought I'd give it a shot. To be honest, we had nothing to lose. The results? Wow. Just wow. After just 30 days, I'm absolutely blown away by the improvement. My mother seems so much sharper, more focused and alert, and no longer repeats herself. I just wish that I'd known about these recipes years ago, because it would have saved us a lot of pain and heartache. Okay, so what exactly are you going to receive in the Memory Repair Protocol? Well, first of all, I'm going to send you the Memory Repair Protocol Fast Start Guide. This is the main guide where you will receive everything you need to know about how to improve your brain health, including the real causes of Alzheimer's and dementia, the clinical trials that sparked my research, why current dementia medication not only fails to improve symptoms, but actually makes them worse, and all the natural ingredients proven to generate high levels of ketones in brain cells, reverse brain atrophy, and the onset of Alzheimer's, dementia, and other memory-related illnesses. In this guide, I will show you in detail all the studies that categorically prove why diet is the only way to fix the problem you've been facing, and how any deterioration in your cognitive health can be stopped and then improved just by eating a few simple foods. That's not all. After this overview of the problems you've been facing, it's time to move on to the meat and bones of the program. So, as the main guide, you'll also receive the Memory Repair Protocol, 21-day protocol. In this step-by-step and easy-to-follow resource, you'll be given 25 of my most powerful and effective recipes for activating ketone production, a naturally occurring chemical compound in your body which has been proven to repair damaged brain cells and boost brain health, including memory, focus, concentration, and more. Plus, you'll also be given a special 21-day protocol to follow in order to give you the best possible chance of achieving the results you want. These delicious recipes cover breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a full 3 weeks, and also include snacks and smoothies, and all you need to do is follow the 21-day protocol to achieve the same dramatic improvements that Sandra and thousands of others have achieved. It really is that simple. And the good news is, you can get access to the entire program in just a few minutes from now. So the next question you're probably asking is this: how much is the memory repair protocol? Well, before I answer that, you shouldn't be thinking of this as a cost at all. This is an investment in your long-term health, and that's the most important investment you could ever make. I'm talking about improving and protecting your cognitive health for the rest of your life, which will allow you to live life the way it was meant to be lived, with all your faculties still operating at 100%. By doing nothing, on the other hand, you'll inevitably be forced to spend many thousands of dollars a year on dementia drugs that don't work and never have. And as your mental health inevitably deteriorates, the chances are your family won't be able to cope and will be forced to pay for long-term care. And if you think that care will be cheap, think again. According to a recent report, the average cost of care for an Alzheimer's patient is $56,800 per year. And the majority of that is covered by the patient or their family. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 years of care here. Most people who develop dementia don't go quickly, which means their family has to care for them for years, even decades, as this devastating disease takes them piece by piece until nothing is left, except a shell of a human being, sat motionless, staring at a wall and unable to even recognize their own family. See, that's the reality of this disease. And that's what you or your loved ones are facing if you decide to do nothing and leave your care in the hands of the pharmaceutical industry, who ironically don't care about anything other than how much money they can make. So tell me, how much would you pay to get your hands on a natural, affordable, and scientifically proven program that will allow you to protect yourself, your family, from that kind of pain and suffering? Dr. Fielding has recommended a price of $997 for this system. And the people who have used it have already stated that they would have happily paid triple that after experiencing the results for themselves. Do you think $997 is a fair price for a program that's scientifically proven to support and improve brain function and has already changed the lives of over 47,000 Americans? I do. And 47,187 people and counting will agree with me. I promise you that. But here's the thing. I'm not doing this to make money. That wasn't my goal when I started out on this journey, and it's definitely not my goal now. All I'm trying to do is get this system out to as many people as possible. Decent, honest people who have been deceived by Big Pharma and the medical community that's been in its pocket for far too long. So, for that reason, I'm not going to ask you to pay anywhere near $1,000 for the memory repair protocol, even though it's worth many multiples of that and could potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars a year on care costs and medication, not to mention protecting you from the human cost of witnessing someone you love being ravaged by this devastating illness. Like I said, I'm not going to ask for anything like the real value of this program. In fact, I'm not going to ask you to pay $500, $250, or even $100 for that matter. The truth is, all I'm trying to do here is cover my costs and keep this website running for as long as I can, so as many people as possible can benefit. So if you click on the button below right now, you can pick up the complete memory repair protocol for the price you see below. Yes, that's right. It's barely anything at all. Yet you're getting instant access to a proven and 100% natural way to prevent, stop, or reverse your symptoms starting today. Now, if you're a little skeptical about whether this system can work for you, I completely understand. After all, you've been told that there's no prevention, no way to slow it down, no way to cure Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And you've probably had endless amounts of drugs thrown at you. But did you know that even the FDA, the actual body that approves these drugs, has itself stated that they do not and cannot cure Alzheimer's and dementia, but merely limit the symptoms, and only for a short time? Yet, according to the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, treating this disease is a $100 billion a year industry in America alone, That's 100 billion reasons why Big Pharma don't want you to believe me. And they have spent hundreds of millions of dollars pushing out drug-friendly propaganda in the media, suppressing research and natural cures, and silencing individuals who try to speak up. So yeah, I totally get it if you're a little skeptical and don't believe that a natural treatment can work. Because that's the lie you've been fed since the day you began trying to fight this disease. So with that in mind, here's what I'm going to do. To prove to you that this system works and you have absolutely nothing to worry about, I'm going to give you a 60-day, risk-free, money-back guarantee. Should you not see a noticeable and dramatic improvement in your cognitive function during that time, or that of a loved one, or you simply change your mind for any reason at all, then all you need to do is email me at the address provided in the members area, and I will refund every cent of your investment, with no questions asked, and no hard feelings. And I won't make you jump through any hoops to get it. I can't say it any fairer than that, right? But that's not all. I want you to achieve the best results possible, as quickly as possible. So I'm also going to send you 2 special bonuses, absolutely free. The first bonus is called the Fact Retainer. In this very special guide, you'll discover a time-tested and proven step-by-step process for ensuring that important facts and information are retained in your mind, and includes the exact same techniques that the most successful quiz contestants in the world use to win thousands of dollars. And if that's not enough, I'm also going to send you another completely free ebook called Meditation Mind Power. In a clinical trial published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, researchers at the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation in Tucson, Arizona, found that a specific kind of meditation known as Kirtan Kriya produced dramatic improvements in the cognitive function and memory of subjects aged 52 to 77. Now, according to Dr. Dharma Singh Khalsa, one of the researchers and the medical director at the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, scans performed after the study showed an increased cerebral blood flow in the frontal lobe and parietal lobes, both areas involved in retrieving memories. The meditation group also performed better on a range of tests designed to gauge memory, attention, and cognition after the 8-week meditation program, compared to the placebo group, who showed no significant improvements. For this very special bonus, I've designed an 8-week Kirtan Kriya meditation protocol that mimics the exact same protocol followed by the trial subjects. And if you think this might be hard work, don't worry. As Dr. Khalsa says, it only takes 12 minutes a day. It's easy to learn, and it doesn't cost anything, and it has no side effects. So for this small, one-time only investment, you can get instant access to the Memory Repair Protocol Fast Start Guide and the 21-day protocol, as well as your 2 special bonuses, the Fact Retainer and Meditation Mind Power, absolutely free. And remember, your order is fully protected by my 60-day money-back guarantee, which means there's absolutely no risk at all. All you need to do is click on the order button below, enter your details, and you'll be directed straight through to our exclusive members area, where you'll be able to download the entire program, including your 2 free bonuses, straight to your computer, smartphone, or tablet. So right now, you have 2 options. Option 1, you can walk away, ignore everything you've just seen and heard, and continue doing what you've been doing, which is probably nothing at all, or even worse, wasting your money on expensive medication that doesn't work and never will. That's fine. If you want to walk away, you can. But by doing nothing, you're playing Russian roulette with your health. And believe me, the odds are already stacked firmly against you. Every 67 seconds, someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's. And by 2025, the number of people aged 65 and older with Alzheimer's disease is estimated to reach 7.1 million, a 40% increase on today's numbers. And that's just one form of cognitive decline. There are many more. And if you think you're safe and that something like this will never happen to you or a member of your family, then you're badly mistaken. These are diseases that don't discriminate. They don't care if you're a man or a woman, black or white, whether you're a millionaire or on the breadline. They'll attack and destroy you, whoever you are, and they will wreck the lives of not only you, but the people you love, because that's what they do. Do you really want to sit there and do nothing? Leave the door wide open to a disease like Alzheimer's, when right here, right now, is a proven way to slam that door shut for good? Do you really want to live out your days staring at a wall in a lonely care home, unable to recognize your own children or grandchildren, unable to dress yourself, unable to go to the toilet on your own because you don't know what a toilet is or what it's for? Do you really want to become a burden to your family for 5, 10, 20 years or more? where you're so confused, angry, frustrated by what's happening to you that all you can do is lash out at the people who love you most? And do you really want your wife or husband to be forced into spending all of your savings on years of expensive care and end up with nothing themselves? This is the heart-wrenching reality facing millions of Americans every day whose lives have been destroyed by dementia. And this is the reality for you too, if you decide to do nothing about it. Yes, that's option one. Let's face it, it's not really an option, is it? In fact, the only option you really do have is option two. To take action and do something about it right now, while you still have the chance. Today, I'm giving you that chance. The chance to not only stop the decline and protect your cognitive health for many years to come, but actually reverse any damage that's already been caused and return to the days when your mind and memory was as sharp as a tack and never let you down. Thanks to this proven program, developed by Dr. Fielding, a specialist in neurochemistry and brain function, you or a loved one could experience dramatic improvements in your cognitive health in as little as 21 days. And you don't even need to leave your own home to do it. So don't let your loved ones go through the pain and torment that my family were forced to go through, when you don't have to. Your family deserves better. They deserve a mother, a father, grandmother, grandfather, who will be with them in full health, enjoying life for the next 10, 20, 30 years or more. Sandra was given a second chance, and because of it, I now have my wife back. My children have their mother back, and we all have the system to thank. So for your own sake, and for the sake of your family, take action now, before it's too late. After all, the small investment you'll be making is nothing more than a night at the movies or the price of a takeout. Yet you'll be getting instant access to a proven program that will boost your memory, reverse any existing Alzheimer's or dementia symptoms, and protect your cognitive health for years to come. So, what's it going to be? A healthy mind and a happy life? Or a game of Russian roulette, where you spin the barrel and take your chances? I know which option I'd choose. And if you care about your family, you will too. Click on the Add to Cart button below, and I'll see you in the members area. Hey, you still here? No problem. The fact that you are means two things. One, that you're ready to take control over your brain health and protect you and your family from the devastating impact of dementia. And two, that you still have a few questions. And that's a good thing. So let's take a few moments to go over some of the most frequently asked questions I get about the memory repair protocol. Naturally, one question I get asked a lot is this: does this system really work? My answer is yes, absolutely. Every single recipe contained within the program contains ingredients that have been clinically proven to kickstart the production of ketones in your brain cells, which will reverse any brain atrophy that has already taken place and protect and improve your brain health for years to come. Now, these studies have been published in peer-reviewed medical journals across the world. This isn't theory we're talking about here. This is scientific fact. These ingredients work and have been proven to work. Unlike medication, which consistently fails and has only ever been shown to slow down symptoms, and even then, only for a short while. So, if you want a proven way to reverse memory loss and protect and improve the health and vitality of your brain for decades, then this is the only system you will ever need. Now, of course, everyone is different. We're all individuals, and one person's level of cognitive deterioration will be different to another's. But the fact remains that all of our brains are the same. We're all wired the same way. And we're all human beings. So the fact this program has already produced dramatic results for more than 47,000 Americans means the chances are it will produce positive results for you too. Remember, lesser versions of these recipes have been used for centuries in the tiny northern Indian town of Balabgar, where recorded rates of dementia are lower than anywhere else in the world. The recipes included in this system are far more advanced and much more powerful. And that leads me to another frequently asked question. Will I get my money back if it doesn't work? And the answer is yes. If you or a loved one don't experience real and noticeable improvements in cognitive function within 60 days, then I will return every cent of your investment with no questions asked. And to prove that I really want to help you, I'll also let you keep the entire program and the 2 bonuses just to say thanks for giving it a try. But here's the thing. I'm 100% confident that you won't be emailing me for a refund. Instead, you'll be emailing me to thank me for putting this program together and for transforming either your own life or the life of your mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, or whoever else it may be. I've seen the results of this program with my own eyes, and I know just how powerful it is. I also receive a number of emails asking me whether this program is safe, and I can assure you that it is. Every ingredient contained within the protocol is 100% natural. These are completely natural and organic foods, whether they're herbs, spices, plants, or oils, which have been specifically chosen because they provide the brain with the fuel it needs to function at its optimum level. Now, these are not man-made toxic drugs we're talking about here, which your body can't wait to get rid of. These are natural, healthy foods that your mind and body needs and wants. Will my details be secure? Now, this is another question that people often ask, and I can absolutely guarantee you that they are. So you have nothing to worry about. Our ordering system contains state-of-the-art encryption technology. So when you order with us, your information is 100% safe and secure. I've also received quite a few emails recently from people asking me how long the system will be available for. And my answer is, I honestly don't know. Of course I want to keep this website up forever, so I can help as many people as possible to protect and improve their cognitive health. The sad fact is, there are many powerful institutions that will do whatever it takes to shut me down. And I've already been threatened by 3 major pharmaceutical companies. Remember, Big Pharma makes billions every year from Alzheimer's and dementia drugs, but they can't patent natural ingredients. So when anything natural is shown to protect or improve cognitive health, they do everything they can to bury the research. So the chances are this website won't be up for long. As you know, in today's world, money talks. And Big Pharma has more of it to throw around than anyone else. So I urge you to take this opportunity while you still can. Order the memory repair protocol today, before this presentation gets shut down for good. So go ahead, click on the Add to Cart button below, fill in your details, and I'll give you instant access to the members area, where you'll be able to download the entire system, including your 2 free bonuses for a full 60 days, completely risk-free. This has been Martin Riley, and I look forward to hearing your success story very soon.